There's one thing that's not nebulous, and you always avoid it. In our latest film, you spoke about the gifts that the gifted performers receive as something that comes from the heavens, and we didn't do much for it, you say. And that's made a big impression on a lot of people because of its humanity, its modesty, and, if you like, its realism. But when you say we didn't do much for it, you leave out the fact that you work like a dog. You work so much that most people would actually think it's not worth doing that. I think very few people realize how much you have actually had to work to sustain all of this. And most people would think it wasn't worthwhile. Most people would think it's not even right to work as hard as you do. So what's behind that?
But, it's not work, of course. That's the thing.
Yes.
Because it's such an incredible enjoyment, because it always lifts my spirit when I conduct or play. This is what I live for. And I never think of my practicing or rehearsing as work. It's simply what I'm born for, and I'm in my element. So I can only be grateful to my fate that I'm a musician, and I want to work and want to make music all the time. That's what I'm for. I'm lucky.
It's exactly what Jackie used to say.
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Well, I have this kind of ability, gift, whatever, talent, so fantastic. Be grateful, damn it. And don't pretend or don't think you are something special. That's the way nature created you. Be grateful and do what you can with it. I have such affection, unbelievable affection for so much music, for different parts in my heart and mind, that I can't say to whom I respond more. I respond differently. I wouldn't like to start comparing the different composers. It's unproductive very often, because things are impossible to compare sometimes altogether. But I am grateful that I can respond to Bach and Rachmaninoff and Sibelius and Mozart in different ways. I wouldn't like to compare them. I wouldn't like to say who is a greater genius. I'm not a genius, I'm just a performer. I think that I am so small next to Rachmaninoff and Bach, but I wouldn't like to compare them. I don't want to do that. They both, in different ways, give me something that I'm grateful for. And I don't want to say who is greater, who lacks this, who lacks that. That's not for me to say. And I don't think it's for anybody to say. Because we don't have such gifts. Who are we to start evaluating on the highest plane? I think we should be grateful that things exist of this kind. But that's where I stop. And there's no final, definite resume of things like this. You can feel it, you can't articulate it. And there is no rational or emotional element or combined elements which you can put forward and say, well, that is why it has value. No way. And people who think there is a way, I think they're very deeply mistaken. And that's their problem. You know, I was fortunate that I emigrated when I was 26, and it's quite early. I'm not even sure that my character was formed to a degree where it couldn't be still modified and developed further. Therefore, at the age of 26, I cannot say I was as we understand, whatever it means, that I could consider myself a mature individual. Definitely not. And when my eyes were opened in the Western world to what I saw around myself, I realized how much I have to learn, how much I don't know. This probably would have never happened had I stayed in the Soviet Union. So I'm grateful that at this age I found myself in the open world.
How, in the middle of this extraordinarily varied life with an extraordinary range of experience, an extraordinary number of recordings and concerts, how have you managed also to produce what by most people's standards is a very large family?
I think all the credit goes to my wife. My wife is one of 6 children in her family. She has 5 siblings. And I suppose it was natural for her to want a family that's not just 1 or 2 children. I'm very happy to have 5 children myself. I'm also very grateful to my wife, ever so grateful that she managed to raise the family in exemplary fashion, I think.
Although she found it very difficult, obviously, because
Of course.
she could neither be with you as much as she wanted to be with you, nor with her children as much as she wanted to be with her children, because of the pressures under which you function.
Well, she managed.
Amazing.
She traveled always with me and took our small children with us until the school age. So sometimes we had 3 with us, 2, very often 3 sometimes, and she managed. And I don't know how it's possible, but it was possible. And then, of course, we missed them tremendously when they had to go to school. But at least the very beginning, which is so important, they were with us, you see. So, not so bad. But our holidays we spent all together, sometimes a couple of months in the summer. No, Christmas holidays, Easter holidays, some other periods, of course. So we were together quite a lot, too. So don't forget that. It's very important.
Essential.